Yo, parish orphans, retrogrades. Recently, Shia LaBeouf has been back in the news, and he's a Catholic. He's a serious Roman Catholic. He got in trouble on Fat Tuesday in Mardi Gras, which is my neck of the woods. I guess he's recently moved there. He got in trouble for throwing Homo sapien slurs at 2 or 3 guys that were Homo sapiens, let's say, that touched his leg. And it's hilarious because in this interview, he's trying to explain it while showing that he's apologetic, but at the same time saying that there's one thing that makes him scared, and it's that Homo sapienism. Very funny stuff. He's struggling with trying to be legitimately apologetic. I think he is. He seems like a guy with a contrite heart. That does not seem to be anywhere near one of his problems. And he's a sincere Catholic. He says this about 5 times in the interview. And he says, look, I'm not one of these angry, sincere Catholics. He goes, like Mel Gibson, no hate to him. I love him too. But he's really struggling throughout this entire interview with this actually great interviewer who kind of just lets him spin. This guy, Andrew Callaghan, successful YouTuber, just lets him get it out. And he keeps returning to 2 things. There are 2 themes throughout the whole thing. It's his need for Roman Catholicism seems to center around a G.K. Chesterton quote, which Michael Knowles did a little segment on, and I tweeted about that Shia reads out loud in this interview to him. So that's kind of one theme, the need of the sane for mysticism. And he's saying, I don't love order. If I try to get too ordered, I go insane. I start climbing the walls. Roman Catholicism alone supplies this mysticism to me. And he keeps returning to the GK quote in funny, sincere fashion. I don't think he's being performative at all, which is a strange critique of him that people were making on the internet. I think that's bullshit. I don't think he's being performative at all. I think Shia is sincere. And then he keeps going. That's sort of A moment. Then B moment will be he puts it back into the context of this trouble he got in on Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday. I was, I think, in New Orleans the day before Fat Tuesday doing something, going to a game, but maybe 2 days before. And then he kind of jumps back into the Catholicism thing and then jumps back into the B thing. It was a really interesting interview. And I just thought, aside from just telling you, oh, well, this is what he says, and here's how to interpret it through a religious lens as a Roman Catholic, I would just go through the interview and show you what's of merit throughout the entire interview. So it's really good stuff. I've always liked Shia. He calls himself an uncle. He says, like, Will Smith is an uncle to me because he is in movies I watched growing up. I was in Holes. The movie Holes, which is a great movie. We all watched it growing up, and he's about 4 years younger than me, 4.5 years younger than me. And he's not like my uncle, but still, I watched that movie growing up, and I think I feel like I've grown up with Shia, and he acknowledges this, especially for kids that are younger than him. He also talk about autograph seeking. He says some hilarious things about it. That's one of the quotes that I'll cover in this show. But then he's made these other movies, Disturbia. I've talked about the character he plays in Disturbia. Seems like a very ordered version of his natural personality. And I've always talked about, I really relate to the character in Disturbia. This is the character I've said, man, this reminds me of a young myself, 18, really close, because it's more ordered. And I relate a lot to a lot of the things Shia says. And he said in this interview something I never knew. So he was born in LA. He grew up in Echo Park, grew up very poor, dirt poor in Echo Park, which if you don't know the LA area, this is where USC is. It was a ghetto for a long time. It's being gentrified now, and it started being gentrified about 25 years ago. And it's super like hipster, kind of like Brooklyn gentrified right now. And he says once it started getting gentrified, he had to move out. And you move to surrounding cities that are even more outskirts to LA. And he said a lot of people go to Bakersfield, Tehachapi. He said that's where I went. So I didn't know that he grew up in Bakersfield. This is my story. So I was born in the LA area in Thousand Oaks and grew up in Bakersfield. And I feel like place sculpts our characters in this with this added insinuated note. It added something to why does Shia play as a young man, as a 20-year-old man? He plays this, or whatever, almost 20, as an 18, 19-year-old. He plays this character in Disturbia, where I'm like, that's very close to a young man. I always related to that character tremendously. And then, as a close to 40-year-old man, a little younger than 40, he played this character in the movie Peanut Butter Falcon.
Amazing film.
Beautiful.
If you haven't seen that, it is such a good film.
It's so good. I mean, so is Disturbia, but Peanut Butter Falcon's more for 40-year-old me. And again, that since I've calmed down a lot since being 18, 19, 20, Peanut Butter Falcon is feels like something I can relate to as a 40-year-old man. So between those two movies, and he's made tons of other films. People used to shit on Transformers. I've always loved the whole Transformers series, and I don't even like comic book movies, but I think those are good. I like the 3 with him. I like the 2 with Marky Mark. I think it's all good. Those are some of the only comic book adjacent films I like. Those and some of the TMNT films, but I don't like the Marvel and the DC. I think that stuff is retarded. But so 20-year-old Shia to 40-year-old Shia really was like, man, this is weird. He plays 2 of the characters I really feel like I related to more than almost any other movies in the last 25 years that have come out, maybe ever. And then you learn, okay, he was an LA native, born in LA, moved to the far outskirts, whole different area outside to the valley, to Bakersfield, grew up there. That's a distinct scene if you're a valley rat like me. And once you get to the Great Central Valley, Bakersfield's the southernmost city. Bakersfield Valley kids can kind of recognize the feel, even all the way to the North Valley, Stockton. It's got a feel from Fresno, Modesto, Madera. There's so many valley cities between Bakersfield and Sacramento, all the way up to Stockton and Sacramento, and that just added a layer of depth to Shia. And I know people who work these 9-to-5 jobs and are far more organized in their approach to life than even me. You would probably think even my relatively ordered life, if you compare what I live to Shia's, you would think it's chaotic. And then you see someone like that's way out there like Shia LaBeouf and has had a truly colorful life, to borrow Michael Knowles' term. Wow, that's zany. But I think there's a lot that you can miss. And I don't just mean the sort of basic thing that at the very most superficial we'll miss, which is like Shia's suffered. Shia doesn't take this overly ratiocinated approach to religion. He's really come to a need for it through his suffering and through his own sin. And that's sort of the true, non-superficial, but the basic approach that I think is really good, covered by Michael Knowles in 5 to 10 minutes. Go watch that clip. Can we play that clip? Do we have that? I think I retweeted it. Just the start of what Knowles is saying. That's the basic story. I think you dig even deeper, and there's more there that made me want to go through the whole interview. Let's play the Knowles. If you just go through my retweet from about maybe an hour ago. Yeah, we no.
This one, Michael Knowles, my friend Michael Knowles.
Yeah, so start with the one where he reads this G.K. Chesterton clip. Real quick, while you're queuing that up, everybody go to www.realestateforlife.org. If you want to get out of your blue state, get to a red state today, go do it. It's the best way to get to this blood red swath of states here in the Southeast. Shia did it, right? Shia moved from LA. He's talking about how LA culture is dead. I couldn't agree more. As someone that really loved LA, and my whole both sides of my family, my mom's side, my dad's side, are from LA. We're all Angelinos. The whole culture just died. It got homogenized. Shia talks a lot about that. And he moved to New Orleans, and he just talks about how New Orleans and that part of the Southeast, the Catholic part of the Southeast, speaks to his soul. I really related to this. And that's really what the 40-year-old me did. And even Peanut Butter Falcon is about the American Southeast and the sort of, there's a very Cajun flair to Peanut Butter Falcon. And 20-year-old me thought LA was the coolest city. 40-year-old me thinks it's cool to be in the Catholic deep American South. So Real Estate for Life will help you get it done. www.realestateforlife.org. Also, if you want to support the channel, help us on locals. And we do need your support. We really need your support to keep the lights on. You can get cool sneak peeks, special previews of things like movies. You get the first word. You get to interact with me. I all the time, about once a month, go to locals and I say, hey, give me show ideas, guys, because I want to do what you guys want me to do. I've taken about 5 shows in the last year, 5 or 6 shows in the last year, directly from locals. I also send them sometimes autographs, free books, stuff like that. So Rules for Retrogrades locals.
And we'll be doing a locals only show after this.
Yeah, then do locals only shows, which we're going to do momentito after this, immediately after this thing turns around.
Do you want me just to play the clips I have, and then you can fill in?
Yeah, I think the 2 big ones everyone was talking about, we'll start with, and then I'm going to go through in order.
Okay, here's this one that you just tweeted, so from the actual interview.
Okay.
Read something to you?
Yeah.
You fuck with G.K. Chesterton?
I don't know who he is, but I sound like I
so
fuck with
G.K.
him.
Chesterton, this is big OG stuff, yeah? He's a real bandito in this thing. Go do whatever you want. In terms of this Christian shit, he's real bandito, this guy Chesterton. Let me read this to you, yeah? And it speaks to me. Mysticism keeps men sane. I'm not trying to be dramatic, yeah? I heard some motherfucker say I was performative today, It bothered me.
Doesn't seem like it to me, man.
All right, here we go. Mysticism keeps men sane. As long as you have mystery, you have health. When you destroy mystery, you create morbidity. The ordinary man has always been sane because the ordinary man has always been a mystic. He has permitted the twilight. He has always had one foot in earth and the other in fairyland. Read something to you?
Yeah.
Good. That was a good clip.
The reason this is such a deep clip, profound clip, and it's something I've talked about many times on this show, several times, is that 20 years, let's call it the 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever generation that encapsulates, part of the boomers, part of Gen X. This was the first real generation, and it has roots in the 40s and 50s, post-war 40s, 50s, 60s, but it really hit hard for those of us kids in the late 70s, early 80s, 90s. This was the first time in human history that the common man was not a mystic. The common man did not feel animated by a religious spirit. The common man became an atheist. Dummies became atheists in the 70s, 80s, 90s. And it took ratiocination, an intellectual, scholastic approach, systematic philosophy, Aristotelism. It took that through the Leviathan cultural force of atheism in the 70s, 80s, 90s to connect with religion. And that was the first time in human history, first generation or generations, boomers and Gen X, who existed that way, where the common peasant did not have this religious soul, was not nurtured by this primarily religious inclination. The peasants were always the one that naturally connected with Jesus. Jesus says, let the children come to me. There's a poorness of spirit there. Jesus says, the poverty is good. It's very, very difficult for a rich man to get to heaven. That being poor in spirit is good. That's why Cardinal Sarah says, poverty is good for people. Being absolutely starving is bad for them. That's not what we want, but it's good for people to not have extra money. It makes it easier to be holy. That's what Cardinal Sarah says. Destitution's bad. Poverty's good. So whether it means being like a little child, that shows you're taking a voluntary, a will-based approach to your relationship with the Logos, the God-man. Or if you're poor rather than rich, different flavors, same proposition. And Shia is saying what's crazy is the impoverishedness of this age. I don't know if he understands the intellectual history entailed by what he said there, but it's actually profound. Well, and he is a smart guy, but he's just sort of spitting nuggets at y'all in this interview with this kooky interviewer, good interviewer, kooky interviewer. And this guy doesn't know anything about religion. He says he was raised Catholic, he was baptized Catholic, but he doesn't know anything about it. He's asking some really cursory questions to Shia, who answers them well. But I don't know. So I don't know whether or not Shia gets a quarter of what he's saying, 3/4 of what he's saying, half of what he's saying. But it's really from an intellectual history perspective, what did people believe throughout the whole like Hegelian phenomenology of human spirit, phenomenology of Geist? It's really profound that's what was so whack. Whether we're talking about modernism after Vatican II in the church, or just, like a third of all black kids in America are aborted. So many women now are slutty. People are leading these lives where they need antidepressants, and suicide rates super high, and white men have been neglected. White straight men have been neglected. Christianity felt all but abandoned by the 90s or even early aughts. That's why. It's because something especially diabolic happened to that generation, where now all of a sudden the peasants lost their mainline connection to just an immediate relationship with Jesus. And I don't mean in the Protestant way. The mainline is always through the sacraments, but they lost their appreciation for the basics of life. Touch the bones. He also talks about St. Francis of Assisi's bones are being displayed in Rome now for the first time ever. His dad's being baptized coming into the church, which is also cool. Another thing, we think our mother-in-law is on her way, directly on her way into the church. Another kind of parallel. And he said, St. Francis is coming to the church. St. Francis's bones are being displayed for the first time ever. That's the peasant's route, the direct route to Jesus. Jesus said, let the little kids come to me. You never had to ratiocinate about it. It was the intellectuals that maybe got caught up, the true intellectuals, greatest minds ever, Aristotle and St. Thomas. They can kind of reason their way to it. But it was the intellectuals traditionally that might have gotten caught up in their walk with Jesus. It was always the peasants who had the main line. It was reversed in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and Shia is tapping into that. Do we
let's play one of the best clips.
Jesus.
Yeah, where the caption is Shia LaBeouf breaks down in tears talking about Jesus Christ and reveals how his faith saved him from taking his own life during his darkest moments. I think the interviewer specifically asks him, like, what would you do or say to Jesus if you met him?
Yeah, what would you say to Jesus?
What would you say to Jesus if you could meet him?
I wouldn't say shit.
Really?
Nah. But I'd kiss him. I'd kiss him. I'd kiss his feet. I won't say nothing. Chill out with these questions, Andrew.
My bad. I didn't know it was make you
I'm
emotional.
a real Catholic, bro. A real one.
I just thought you had thought about
No,
it.
I'm a real one, bro.
I want to believe
Mm.
it's something.
Well, hey, bro, you gotta hit your head into the wall hard enough where you just go, fuck it. It's the only way, dog.
That's how you find God?
Yep, for me. For the hard-headed ones, yeah, you gotta go hard.
What do you think was the real life equivalent of you smashing your head? Oh,
I put a gun in my mouth. I was ready to kill myself, blow my brains out, writing letters.
Yeah.
One of the dark days. For real gone, ready to go.
why did you do that?
Why didn't I do it? Because I'm pussy, and also my mom. So God bless her. She kept me alive that night. And also some dude, I've said it already, but there was a dude who hit me up, this guy from the program. I used to save all the numbers in my phone, Joey AA, Bobby AA, Tommy AA. And there was a cat who hit me up that night. I was ready to go. And he hit me up. He said, hey, what are you doing? Or something like that. And then I was like, trying to explain myself, like, bro, fuck this. I'm out of here. Fuck life. I can't take it no more. I just lost my girlfriend. She's walking out the door. My wife didn't know. The ex is fucking suing. It's all just shit. I can't wrap my head around it all. I'm out of here, bro. And he's like, oh, yeah, cool. Tell me about it in the morning. And I thought, you motherfucking insensitive piece of shit. And he bought me the night. I was so angry. I needed to talk to him in the morning. Sometimes that'll save you. Sometimes just being fucking like, sometimes madness, rage will save you from really scary stuff. I don't know. I'm not in charge. God's running the shit. I just try my best, and I'm not refined, and I'm one of them dirty Christians.
So, yeah, I feel like people made a big deal out of this. I'm not refined. I'm one of those dirty Christians. Knowles talked about it really eloquently on his show yesterday. And, there's a Pope Francis sentiment in this that's true. that's not bad. I don't mean something pejorative by that. I mean, like, the church is a field hospital. It's sacraments aren't a prize for the perfect. There's a lot of wrong presuppositions in the way that I think Francis framed that, but it's true. Like, Shia is one of these guys. You listen to the whole interview. I encourage you to, and you'll see, okay, like, it's a work in progress. He says it. This is a work in progress. And yet he has this profound love for Jesus. Now, there are things attached to conversion you got to do. Like, I didn't know he'd recently been divorced, because when he did that interview with Bishop Barron right after he had decided to come into the church, and then he says that he loves going to the Latin Mass. That's what made him Catholic. Know his order. You feel like you're being sold a lemon. The Latin Mass, they don't try to sell anything to you. It's just beautiful and ancient. At that point, he was still together and trying to work it out with his wife. So it always makes you sad to hear that anyone, especially a Catholic, has gone through the way of the divorce instead of working it out. But, like, whatever. Okay, so it is what it is. And now that you're divorced, there's extra onus, right? You can't be chasing the skirt. He mentioned a couple of times girlfriends and chasing the ladies around. Okay, well, you can't just do whatever you want to do in reference to being a divorced guy. Now you either got to be celibate to walk the walk, or you got to get back with your wife. That's if you don't want to be celibate, or you got to go the annulment route. Okay, but the point is, there are these duties which go along with it. And so these pearl clutching trads, and I'm a non-pearl clutching trad. That's the difference between them and me. Shia is a very non-pearl clutching trad, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's
I think people find that refreshing. I mean, that's what I think you were saying, and Michael Knowles, one of the points you guys were making was, like, could he be a great Catholic apologist for just that approach? Because I think a lot of people are coming to the faith now from, unfortunately, from a place of degeneracy.
Yeah.
Like they just get tired. They're exhausted of living lives fit for cattle, and they're looking for meaning. And, you can certainly say with Shia LaBeouf that, there are lots of people like him that are, like, transitioning out of just, like, living a life for cattle. And they're still going to have a lot of bad ideas.
Specifically the life of pleasure seeking. Yeah, that's what Aristotle says is a life fit for cattle. And Aristotle says 90 to 95% of people are leading this life. Even adults out in the suburbs, even Shia certainly could never be accused of being boring. Very, very interesting, dynamic fellow. The guy I've always just related to a lot. And, we're about the same age. Now, he's born in the same place, moved to the same place after he was born there. So it explains a little more. But there are boring versions of the apolostic life. This is the term from the Greek. The apolostic life, a life fit for cattle, meaning animals seek the pleasure of the five senses as well. This is something animals seek to adequate to five appetites. And there are boring people doing this every day out in the suburbs. That's your divorced or married neighbor, your pill popping lawyer, your Adderall addicted, whatever, agent. There are high functioning pleasure addicts who, by high functioning in this Puritan society, in this post-puritanical society, they call them high functioning as a compliment. It's really an insult. They're just boring Shia LaBeoufs. And we are all there. Mental health is the sovereign domain of the saints alone. All of the rest of us, all of us other nutcases, are just trying to do our best, make the best show of the most sincere show of our faith. And there's a sincere component to it, and a show the best version of ourselves for our reputations. And I don't mean that everyone's a phony or anything like that, but nobody wants to air their dirty laundry, right? Even the church says we have a right to not air our dirty laundry or have it aired. So everyone looks at this, and there's a point at which Shia picks up like a ladybug right in the middle of he's talking about his suffering. I know a lot of these Puritan guys that might think, if you think like I'm zany, then you're going to think Shia LaBeouf is just out there.
Like
And I
motivating.
get it. And it is a little funny, but, and I'm not trying to relativize everything, but mental health is the sovereign province of the saints alone. No one else has mental health. Some people are a little closer, but I would just remind you as you watch some of these clips, which can seem kind of wacky, that, you know, Shia is on the path. Now he's got to arguably, maybe he's got to start realizing their attending duties to the kind of epistemic, the faith. I wasn't saying epistolary like writing a letter. I mean like pistis, the Greek faith. Besides just the epistemic thing where you realize, holy cow, I am a Trinitarian Christian. The traditional church is where I'm at. This is what I believe. He says I got bat mitzvahed because he's like half Jewish. Never was interested in that. All this other stuff, never interested in it. I believe with my whole being, I'm all in. It's like, okay, well, there's probably more he can do, you know? And I'm not trying to avoid saying the obvious. There's probably more Shia can do. It corresponds with the tenets of the faith. It corresponds with the, I don't know,
the sacrifice and like
the precepts. Yeah, the daily sacrifice.
The desire is there. I think everybody, what they loved about this interview is that you see a true desire in his soul to be, you know, to be something greater in Christ.
Yeah,
but you have to allow that desire to at some point the transformation has to start too.
Yeah, you got to make it happen.
You can't just coast on desire. You have to at some point allow your intellect to step in and change behaviors.
Yeah, precisely. That's what I was trying to say. But it's there, and it's funny when I'll get all kinds of people in the comments. There will be outright pearl clutchers saying, "Oh, you know, he's contradicting himself here. He's saying he's chasing the skirt."
Have you ever met a convert? That's what they do when they're converting. It's a contradiction after contradiction. That's fleshing things out.
Have you ever met a person? Yeah. I mean, they people when they're fully sober. Just Shiloh's talking about Alcoholics Anonymous, and I think he starts drinking a beer during the interview. People won't necessarily contradict themselves as much in the course of one interview as Shia does here, but there are notes that are uncontradicted, and that's what I'm calling you to. I see them too. Yes. Oh, Tim, you're just trying to kiss his ass. I'm not trying to glaze. I'm literally saying, yeah, of course there's tons of contradictions, more than the average bear. But I just want to go through some of these sound bites directly, and I think it becomes clear that he's being consistent, honest, and it's not performative. This Christianity.
Guys like that need a boost. You know what I mean? He needs like good dudes. And I know he hangs out with a lot of fathers, you know, Catholic fathers. But it's.
Does he?
Yeah, like I think when he was converting into the faith,
priests. I thought you meant like Catholic.
Oh, no, not like dads, like biological, meaning more spiritual. So I know he knows a lot of Catholic priests, but it's like you just need, you know, people to encourage you. Obviously, he's got a lot of bad ideas, but that's where you need like your dudes, you know. And a guy needs his bros now more than ever, because you see somebody like that who has like a sincere desire for the faith, and he just needs that kick in the ass to kind of follow through with his actions.
Yeah, in the faith, let's go on with some of these, but the faith is in such a place where there aren't guys that have a little bit of a wild spirit, because Shia is a wild man. He keeps saying it, and you can see it on full display. He's a wild man. He doesn't love rules, right? But he loves the bounded function of Roman Catholicism, the one true faith, and in the truest form of it's the traditional form of Western Roman Catholicism. So he loves that. That's the one element of sort of structure or rules that he's really attracted to. Otherwise, rules are kind of unattractive. I think that's what I relate to most about Shia LaBeouf is I hate rules. I don't like rules. Whether it's you should wear this, you should say this, or you should say it this way, or you shouldn't be friends with so-and-so, you should be friends with so-and-so. Why don't you get along with so-and-so? Why didn't it work out with so-and-so? He's talking about, he's still homies, I think, with the co-star from Holes, the little kid with curly hair, I think it was. Didn't make any friends on Disturbia, which I was interested in just a gossipy way. He's like, oh, I can't say much about this. I made no friends there. People think, oh, well, it seems like you would have been friends with the cast from Disturbia, maybe not Holes because you were teenagers. Who knows? that kind of stuff bothers me. The rules, wear this, don't wear that, eat this, don't eat that. I hate details with all my heart, and therefore I hate rules. I'm always going to be 3 to 5 minutes late anywhere I go. Like, you know, I try to make it more like 1 or 2, but I am fundamentally attracted to the exact same thing that Shia is. And there's something with the Lonerganian human pure desire to know. It's like the pure desire to line yourself up with the order that is logos.
Yeah, what is that?
The God.
Because, like, you're a guy, like, I don't know if he'd say something similar to you, but like, what about being a guy who doesn't like rules, but you love the rules of the faith? Like, what is that? Is it because it's purposeful, or what is it?
I don't want to be.
Because you follow the rules with the Catholic Church. Like, that's the crazy thing. Like, if somebody tried to just like impose some arbitrary rule on you, which has happened a lot since we've even been married, where people say, especially since you've had this channel, where like, you can't say that, or you can't do that, or you should wear a suit, or you should do this, or they try to give you some arbitrary rule. You're always like very adamant against it. But what about you acquiesce very easily to the church?
Just because either way, this comes from modernity, where you can have wrong responses to modernity. Modernity at one time says you have to be either, you know, evidence-based or a priori reason-based, you know, rationalism versus empiricism. And that's a false dichotomy. Modernity has all these false dichotomies. You have to be either rule-based, or you have to be, which is intellectual, or you have to be will-based, voluntary. You have to like Dionysian creative, right? What is that? Right brain? Or you have to love Apollonian order. That's left brain. You're either a right brained or a left brain person. And there are tons of evils that flow from all these false dichotomies in modernity. And there are evils that stem from some of the postmoderns like Nietzsche. But one thing Nietzsche got right, his dissertation was called The Birth of Tragedy. And he's showing how we need to, as postmoderns, reconcile the Apollonian order and the Dionysian. And of course, Nietzsche doesn't get, there was one man about 1870 years before Nietzsche himself who did this, who reconciled rules, Apollo's kind of rules, his mathematical order, which music is the highest form, and creation, this, you know, this agonal tension of creation, right brain, left brain. That's Jesus. You before you build a new building, you got to level the old. You start building up the new. You need math, and you need some creative spark. So Jesus does that. And so there's, whether you're the type of person who's anal and you'd like to go to bed early. I know a lot of this crowd, you go to bed early, you get up early, you think you thrive. A lot of you guys have this Puritan stuff in your head. A lot of Americans, where you go to bed the same time every day, you get up at the same time every day. It's usually early. The earlier to bed, the better. Early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. You know, you drink your coffee black and you say, you shouldn't be sweet. That's for girls. Pumpkin spice lattes for girls. And you do the same thing at the same time of the day. This is how you make a man great. That's not. That's how you make a man maybe productive in a very mediocre way, in my view. I like to do a different thing, different days. Now, I'm not chaotic. I do pretty much the same thing most days. And I love my life because I'm shaping my wife and kids, and we're just trying to get to heaven together. But I like doing them in different times of the day. We do go to bed different times of the day every day, even if we do have to get up the same time of the day to run this homeschool stuff. And so whether you're type A like that, or type a little more chaotic, like a Shia LaBeouf, or maybe some geometric mean between them, like myself, we're all attracted to the reconciliation of the Apollonian, the ordered, and the Dionysian, the chaotic creative.
Do you want me to start playing some of these?
Yeah, so let's start going through.
I think some of the ones that you downloaded came through, but do you want me to just start playing some random ones and then you can just respond?
We'll start playing them from the top in the order that we did them.
We have that Mike Piazza one up right now. Did you want to do that one first?
Is that next?
Well, that's the autograph.
41 seconds?
No, it's in a minute. It's an autograph one. Where he talks about Mike Piazza rejecting him 90 plus times.
This is really funny. He calls him a bitch. We'll just take it from the Twitter top, or else we're not going to get to all of them. Just go from the top.
You don't want to play this one?
No, not unless it's the very top one. I think this one. I'll show you how it begins. Because I always the way I order these is by just top to bottom on Twitter. And this one.
Here, I got it. So usually when you get processed, top to bottom. Okay.
Yeah, he's talking about the guys you get processed with whenever you go to jail. And you become homies.
Let's see.
This way, we'll just keep it chronological. So I'm
when you're in that like
survey the entire interview
state, that like mystic party state. Do you feel true joy? I feel connected. You know what I mean? I feel connected to people. I take a bunch of pictures like a fucking like on a golden retriever or a governor or something like that because I like what it does for people's lives. I remember trying to get Mike Piazza's autograph, motherfucker. You know what I mean? For my whole life, Mike Piazza.
Were you waiting outside the fence?
Every day, this guy, bro. We used to go to Dodger games, Big Brothers programs. You get tickets out. You go for the Dodger game. Me and all the dudes be sitting in the parking lot. Brett Butler always signed. Hideo Nomo always signed. Mike Piazza.
Just a cool
Mike Piazza, you're a bitch, bro.
So he's talking about growing
How
up
many
in
times do you think
LA.
you rejected somebody?
Every day, bro. I did it for, I used to go out there 90 times probably. Rejected me 90 times. So what it did was, I'm going to sign them all. So when I got on, it was like, yo, fuck Mike Piazza.
So you don't turn down any pictures?
Never, ever. Not unless I'm with my kid or I'm eating some food or I'm chasing some ass.
Because you feel like that you're helping people, validating.
Yeah, what did God do it for? Why did he do it? Why did he do this to me? You know what I mean? What is the purpose, bro? Like, why did he do this for you, Andrew?
In terms of giving you.
Why did God do it, bro? What did he do? Why? All right, so shut up for a second. What are you good at, Andrew? Being Andrew, doing this shit. I'm good at this thing that I do. Yeah, all right, okay, we got that. What can you do with that? What you're good at? What can you do? That's the arithmetic. What are you good at? All right, now, how can you help people with that? So I take pictures of people because that shit help their day. Maybe motherfuckers like, hey man, can't make my tax season. Hey, my fucking mom's diabetic. Like, who knows, bro? You don't know what people's problems are. You know, just crashed my car. I was jogging the other day. I was jogging. Dude couldn't believe I was in the street, which I was flattered by. But then he fucking crashed his car into a pole. Oh my god, bro. You know, how do you help that guy?
How much of your life have you been living like this for in terms of people taking pictures with you, living as a public figure? It's from your 18 or something like that.
Man, I was on like even Stevens shit was like popping hard. If you were a broke kid in America, everybody watched Disney Channel and Nickelodeon. You know what I mean? It's like everybody would just sit at home and watch that thing. So I grew up with everybody. You all grew up together, and that's what it is. So I know what that is. It'd be like me running into Will Smith. Give me a picture. I grew up with you. Yeah.
I guess it's kind of, people are saying it's echoing for them, the ones on your phone. You might have to just play it through your.
Yeah, man. Sometimes so okay, if it echoed, fine. But as long as you could hear it, he grew up in LA, going to Dodgers games, waiting for autographs, and he waited 90 times for Mike Piazza, and he would get denied. And he says, "This is why I'm always going to inconvenience myself to take a picture with someone or sign an autograph." And this is a really cool sort of moment in the interview, you know, when he's being honest and he explains, this is why I'm extra good about this, and I'll be inconvenienced for it. Now, yeah, I guess what people are bothered by with, you know, unless I'm with my kid or I'm eating food or I'm trying to chase the skirt, that's such an obvious contradiction to the Catholic life that people are like, well, that some of the contradictions are subtler and you contradict yourself without even knowing. That's one of those ones, the carnal, the lust after the flesh, the action following the lust after the flesh. That's one of those ones that it's just at some point you got to get on the wagon. And that's the big one. That was the big one for St. Augustine, right? But everyone, look, when I say, hey, you know, Abby Johnson, she should, I don't know, she should shut the fuck up. She shouldn't be talking about abortion.
Yeah, thank you.
She shouldn't be out there talking about it. Everyone goes, well, what about St. Paul? St. Paul killed people. Okay, he's St. Paul, right? He's exceptional that way. And becomes a Christian, and becomes, in some ways, the Christian. In some ways, he was more important than St. Peter. Not in other ways, but in some. They were like the two guys. That's really rare, that you could be a murderer and then you go and you start helping the people you murder, and you become arguably the most important person in the camp of people you are murdering, Christians. But he's also a dude. We know what the Bible says about dudes have to have public office. And that's also murder. But what is it with chasing the skirt around, chasing tail? St. Augustine knew for years before he came back into the church, because he had a saint mother, St. Monica. He basically was figuring it out. Manichaeanism, that's fake. Neoplatonism is only a little bit right. St. Ambrose, I know through my mother, St. Monica, this is the ticket, and I want to get on the ship. But the main thing for St. Augustine was, I got to stop chasing the skirt. Because he was son of a rich guy, right? And he had opportunities for it, and the occasion of sin was everywhere. So that's where Shia, I guess, is after a divorce. This is why divorce is bad, because then you don't have access to skirt chasing, chasing your wife, and it presents many occasions for sin. But my point was, you're so quick. So many of you guys out there are so quick to say, "Oh, Abby Johnson is like St. Paul," but and she's not. She's really not. That's really unlikely that she would be. Whereas with the carnal sins,
and she's profiting,
in a way,
so much off of
right.
that. She killed was it
22,000 kids,
22,000 babies? It's like, I'm sorry, that
you got to suffer some first.
You need
before
to have a life of quiet.
But murder is a bigger deal. Like when it comes to the carnal sins, that's much more common. That's a more everyday thing. It's still a mortal sin, but it's a more everyday thing to keep people out of heaven. Mary at Fatima said it's the most common thing. It's not murder. Okay. So Shia is struggling with a more everyday mortal sin, which is keeping him from I'm not saying he's not fully communion with the church, but it's keeping him from full living the faith, maybe. And he's showing the contradiction even in this interview. Okay, well, fine, I get it, but extend some of that analogizing, the ameliorizing analogizing that you extend to Abby Johnson. Oh, she's like St. Paul. Not really. Shia is like St. Augustine in my mind now. That's a more everyday, much more reasonable metaphor, I think. Okay, let's go to the next clip.
You might have to play it through your thing, because it must be.
We're going to get the.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's another one.
Two misdemeanor battery charges, but they might up it to someone. I know they got a DA, very liberal DA. Who knows what goes on, But
let me slow this down. Okay. So they're asking him about his actual charges. I'll start it over.
What was the charge they ended up hitting you with? The charge, I got two misdemeanor battery charges, but they might up it to someone. I know they got a DA, very liberal DA. Who knows what goes on, But I know there's a guy out there who thinks it's hate charges. I'll live with whatever goes on. It is what it is. Yeah. God bless them all. Have they told you what the penalty might be for something like that? There's a battery charge. I think you go do 6 months, and hate charge would be more than that. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know what it is. I gotta do whatever it is. I'll do whatever it is. It was no good, bro. My behavior's dirty, ugly, disgusting. So I gotta eat it.
The interesting thing here, just on a logistical basis, is he says, "Oh, I think it's a very liberal DA, and he's going to charge me with hate crimes," because he allegedly yelled, it kind of sounds like haggis, like if there was a T at the end of, I feel like a bit of one of these for not saying it. I just don't know if it gets pulled out in the YouTube algorithm. I say it all day, every day. And I think because there are 2 or 3 gay dudes that were touching his leg, he ended up nearly fighting those guys, and he yelled, haggis, Haggett at him. And so he's saying the liberal judge might try to throw a hate crime at him for not wanting to be touched by a gay dude, which sounds like what would happen. And New Orleans does have a very, very liberal municipal government. So I buy it. And that's just an interesting key into what happened.
And run program as rigid as they run it, and the deeper, and this is not excuses, but the deeper in the program you get, you wind up in Catholicism. So you feel like the restrictive nature of traditional recovery often leads you into a religious box. No, I feel like the restrictive nature of recovery leads you into unhappiness because it's rigid, and you feel like you're missing out on something. And there's a mysticism, there's a mystery that's inherent to health, because you feel like the rigid nature of it makes you feel like you're depriving yourself of something. Yeah.
So this is what he said before. He's like, this is the prelude to his comment where he's like, let me get up and read you from G.K. Chesterton. He has to go grab the book. This is the preamble.
And that would be the breadth of human experience. Yeah. Which is joy. Which is not just joy. I know program dudes that experience the joy I'm talking about. I remember how it first came in. There's a different kind of joy I'm talking about. I'm talking about a different kind of unhinged, maniacal joy. I'm not talking about giggles or like I'm talking about freedom. I'm talking about complete, like something like a existential, like something further than just like some giggle, like the normie joy. It's like flying on the highway. Like what? Yeah, on a motorcycle. No, further.
No,
further than that.
Not like that.
Further than that is what Mardi Gras is. So it's like a chaos therapy. No, it's can I read something to you? Yeah.
All right. So that's the end of that. And Shia is trying to express the difference between pleasure, and this is basically books 2 and 3 of the Nicomachean Ethics. If I could interview, I'm gonna go out there because I go out to New Orleans almost once a week. We go to Pels games or we go to Latin Mass, every other week. I'm over there. I'm gonna try to get an interview with him. Try to get him to come here. It's an hour and a half drive. Very easy hour and a half drive. It's not like Bakersfield to LA. Shia's searching for the Aristotelian answer to this question. What's the difference between mere animal pleasure, the apollastic life? Animals search for the adequation of the 5 sensory appetites, which confer pleasure. When you're hungry and the physical act of eating food confers pleasure. When you're feeling lustful and you're able to adequate that, there's a very well-known pleasure there. These are the 2 best-known pleasures that need to be mediated or moderated, associated with temperance, touch and taste, Aristotle says. But there are other ones. There's pleasures of the eyes, there's pleasures of the ears, there's pleasurable smells. Those latter 3 aren't so much associated with sin. It's you're either a glutton or you're a lecher. And if you're intemperate, touch and taste, if you're having too much or immodest or an immodest amount of pleasure from touch or taste. And Shia's just saying, he's trying to say, well, there's a good kind of pleasure, which Aristotle tends to in books 3 and 4 of the Nicomachean Ethics, where he says pleasure is actually good. Because when you move from the bottom quadrant of life, pure vice, through what's called incontinence, up into continence, up into pure virtue, those are the 4 quadrants of life, then you'll still get pleasure, and pleasure is still important. But the purely virtuous man gets virtue and gets pleasure, which is actually the test. It's the litmus test for whether or not you're in the realm right next to pure virtue, which is just called continence. That's when you do the right thing. You do the virtue in the situation, whatever the situation calls for, you do the right thing, but you're kind of pained by it. You give up your last $10 to someone who needs it, but instead of being pleased by that, you're pained by it. That's called continence. You did the right thing, but you're pained by it. That's the second to last step on your way to perfecting each of the individual natural virtues. So pleasure is really important because it's the test. The saints who have acquired all the natural virtues, they get pleasure from giving their last $10 away, from fasting. They get pleasure from, any of the natural virtues. They're a spectrum. Continence is the second to last one. You do the right thing, but you're kind of pained by it. If you're really continent, you're really pained by it. If you're less continent and closer to true virtue, you're less pained by it, but there's still some pain admixed into your emotional response. And that's very valuable. That's why pleasure is good. But it's a different kind of pleasure. Now, there's a dotted line between the second and the third way of existing on this virtue plane. And this is incontinence. This is when you don't do the right thing. You missed the opportunity and you did the wrong thing, and you get some pleasure from doing the vicious thing. The vicious pleasure follows. But you're also pained by doing the wrong thing. And the pain from doing the wrong thing is what's eventually going to kick you up into continence, right? So incontinence, you do the wrong thing, you miss the opportunity to do the right thing, and it pains you. Once you cross over into the next phase, continence, you start doing the right thing, but until you do it 1,000 times, habituated 1,000 times with the right form, you're pained by doing the right thing. eventually, if you do it 1,000 times with the right form, you'll start getting pleasure from doing the virtuous thing itself. And the bottom rung, when you're the furthest away from the light, is pure vice, where you do the wrong thing and you're purely pleased by it. And this is what basically animals are. But they're not doing the wrong thing because they weren't made to do wrong or right. But you adequate your base appetite, and it's called pure vice in the context of a human being. In the context of an animal, it's just satisfying instincts. It's not wrong or right. But for a human being to do the wrong thing and only live to satisfy your own 5 senses, pleasures associated with the 5 sensories, that's you're not even pained by the fact that you're doing the wrong thing. So you're at the very bottom. Then maybe you move up to incontinence when you make a friend or you see someone that does the right thing, and you still do the wrong thing. You don't follow suit yet, but you're pained by the fact that you have this knowledge that someone out there is doing it. And then you maybe kind of live like that for a while. You keep doing the wrong thing, but it pains you more and more and more knowing you're doing the wrong thing, till eventually you cross the dotted line. You move from incontinence to continence, and you try doing the right thing once, and maybe it'll be really painful at first. And you're like, I should just go back to incontinence, doing the wrong thing. But if you stick with the path, the Sendero Luminoso, not the narco terrorists, but if you stick to the shining path on the Christian life and you habituate it, then the pain from doing the right thing will diminish a little bit each time you do it, till eventually you cross into that 4th highest realm of true virtue, where you get pleasure from doing the right thing alone. That's Aristotelianism. That's what I'd love to give Shia the first half of Nicomachean Ethics, and just let him, ask him, hey, do you fuck with Aristotle?
Shirt that says that.
I fuck with G.K. Chesterton.
We should make that shirt.
Yeah, that shirt would be based. It'd just be like, man, you need to. I fuck with a little Chesterton, but Aristotle would actually help you a lot more if you fucked with him, bro. Because I like Shia. Shia's surprise, I think, could be a really good. I think this could be a really, really good thing. Okay, so yeah, now they start talking about whether or not he believes in a singular monotheistic deity. And he was like, oh yeah, I'm Catholic all the way. I don't think that's.
And this is not excuses, but the deeper in the program you get, you wind up in Catholicism,
Sorry. Sure about that. Let me do the next one. Okay, here's the next quote. I already did that clip.
When you're in that state, that mystic party state, do you feel true joy? I feel connected. I feel connected to people. I take a bunch of pictures like I'm a golden retriever or a governor or something like that, because I like what it does for people's lives. I remember trying to get my Piazza's autograph, motherfucker. For my whole life, my Piazza. Were you waiting outside the fence? Every day, this guy, bro. So yeah, we used to go to Dodger games.
This went out of order, but it helps to explain why he's so good about spending time with people. Okay, let's go.
I'm Robin Hood, kind of. I don't know. I've always been kind of, I don't know, man. Maybe it's like I got this Grey Goose sneaker soul. Does that make sense?
Grey Goose sneaker soul.
No, I just fake dirty sneaker. They're kind of like really wealthy, fake dirty sneakers. No, I didn't know about this. I don't know. Something about it feels too close to home for me to ever wear, but so intrinsically true. I grew up poor and I got rich as fuck early, Rich to me was $8,000 a week, which is what I get paid on even Stevens. That's crazy fucking stupid money, bro. Yeah. You're rich. So for me, I never thought about money again after $8,000 a week. I thought, I am fucking balling. Everybody quit their jobs, everybody got houses, so that alters your perspective. You grew up in Echo Park? Echo Park before that. And then we couldn't afford to stay in Echo Park. When the riots happened, Echo Park changed. The police force dissolved, there was a whole Rampart division. The whole Echo Park I knew disappeared. And it was replaced by Echo Park now. Hipsters. I'm not going to say nothing, but it's different. And it lost whatever was there before. And there's pockets, but a lot of us moved to Boyle Heights. A lot of us moved to Bakersfield. A lot of us moved to Tahunga, Sunland, Reseda. The little scratch made the Burbank. That was like Beverly Hills for the people that got pushed out of Echo Park. And so we went to Bakersfield first. And then my dad was in Tehachapi. That's why we were in Bakersfield. My dad went to Tehachapi for a while. My mom was selling fabric out of Bakersfield, made some scratch, moved us closer. We wound up in Sunland, Tahunga. And that's where I sort of grew up there, like from 9 to getting on. And then
that's just cool because, again, he moved from LA to Bakersfield. I was born, from my own story, I was born in the LA area. And at about 1 year old, we moved to Bakersfield the first time. Then we moved around a bunch of times, but wound up living back in LA at various points in my life, in Bakersfield for long chunks of time. That's where we ended up getting married. But it tells, place tells you about a person. And it's also funny. once they moved kind of far away from LA, like Bakersfield, they wanted to get closer to it. He says his mom was a hippie and his dad was a Mongol, I guess a biker or something. So, bohemian type parents, they wanted to get back close to LA because LA was still kind of cool in the 70s and 80s. It started getting real gay in the 90s and just lost its soul in the early 2000s, which he refers to also. But then they got a little closer by getting to Sunland, Tahunga area. That's where like Chris Plants moved after he moved away from Bakersfield. It's back over the mountains. So now you're close to LA because you're across the mountains. Okay, so here's that's just a cool little tidbit.
It only matters if you care about it. Here's what I care about my daughter. I care about my daughter, and I was in a situation where I can't speak too much about it. We were deeply unhappy, bro. We had a lot of resentment. I made a lot of mistakes early on. Look at this ladybug. I made a lot of mistakes. Oh shit, a dead ladybug? What's that? No, she's alive. She's alive. She's been through earlier.
So he's talking about suffering. Let me slow it down and play it for you. He's talking about suffering and having a hard time raising his kid while his marriage was disintegrating. Then he goes, oh, here's a ladybug. And he gets up and he picks it up from the ground.
And I was in a situation where I can't speak too much about it. We were deeply unhappy, bro. We had a lot of resentment. I made a lot of mistakes early on. Look at this ladybug. I made a lot of mistakes. Oh shit, a dead ladybug? What's that? No, she's alive. She's alive. She's been through a little bit here. I made a lot of mistakes early on before we tried to have baby. I had violated trust in a big way. And then we tried to use program, albeit one-sided, to try to fix it, and it was impossible, and we both became very unhappy. And it's not good to be unhappy around a baby. It's not good to be.
That is so real, by the way. I don't think I've ever seen a ladybug and not have said, there's a ladybug.
There's a ladybug.
Have anybody else? I don't know what it is about ladybugs, but anytime one's among us, like I've never heard a person not say, recognize a ladybug's presence and
It's
go,
not a fly.
like, stop everything. There's a ladybug.
Hold the phone, ladybug. But I mean, Shia actually gets up and picks it up off the ground.
Obviously, everyone does.
And Andrew has a funny response. He's like, yeah, it's been through a lot, I guess, because they think it's dead at first. It turns out to be alive. I just thought you should know there's this hilarious part of the interview where that happens. Here's the next sequential quote.
Yeah. Do you think God's like a monotheistic singular deity? Do I? Yeah. I believe in the Trinitarian Church. Yeah, I'm a Catholic, full blown. Yeah. I got baptized Catholic. I just haven't really followed it much. I get it, and if I had probably come up like you, I probably.
He says, yeah, if I came up like you, baptized Catholic, I might not be fully into it now.
I didn't come up that way. I came up with my dad was in the Mongols. My mom was a hippie. We had no God in the house. We had a bunch of religious art. My mom loved art, so I had a bunch of Caravaggios and shit in the house. We loved art, but we never read the Bible or nothing like that. And then I got bar mitzvahed. I wasn't into that shit at all. Big internet lore is also it's true.
It's funny. He's like, I wasn't into that shit at all. Getting bar mitzvah. That's got to be. Because he's, on one of his parents' side, he's Jewish. And he's like, I wasn't into that at all. I'm Catholic.
Yeah.
Well, big internet lore is also that you're like down from a hood in LA. It's true. Can you elaborate? Harpies 13, my key holder is Conejo. It happened through a film. I was prepping a movie. I asked if I could. He told me what the requirements were.
So then he's talking about.
You mentioned heartbreak is a major thing. Yeah. Do you think God's like
So I've never heard a contradiction from Shia after the interview with Bishop Barron, when he got really into Roman Catholicism, traditional Roman Catholicism by the Norbertine monks in Orange County when he was filming a Padre Pio movie, which I still haven't seen. I gotta see it, but everyone loves to talk trash on that movie. Maybe they're right.
You mentioned heartbreak as a major thing in my life in general, not now, but yeah, I mean, that's what brought me out here for sure. That's what motivated the move. Yeah, I'm out there now, but
the move from LA to New Orleans. I didn't know he was out there. I'm gonna start looking for Shia.
I think we know where to find him. We just need to go into the French Quarter. He's probably there right now. We can be there. Shia will be there in an hour and a half.
Yeah, he says he loves hanging out.
We need to just bring him home and
buying this
let him
that would
rest.
That was 3 months ago. Yeah, but I mean, one of the hard parts about being a public figure of your stature is like all of your personal life is in the media, good, bad, and ugly. I thought you did a pretty good job on the John Bernthal podcast. Oh yeah, about addressing that kind of pipeline that you had from controversy to, I guess, sobriety and getting serious about your life, figuring out what behavior patterns put you in the position to be in positions like the ones that got written about significantly. Yeah. Looking back at that whole chapter, as far as the major controversy and everything like that 2 or 3 years ago, how do you look back in the review? Twigs and all that? Yeah. Bro, she's a good girl, bro. That's a good girl. But looking back in the river, do you feel like working the program after that helps you kind of rectify? No, because the program, you know, sometimes when you get arrested, the court just says, hey, you got to go do this or that to like mitigate charges, you know? So they force you to do like rehab and like go to, you know, anger management. So like, that's not what the issue with me and her was. The issue with me and her had to do with jealousy and bullshit, manipulation, and some stuff she talked about, some stuff that, you know what I mean? But that's my fault too right there, you know what I mean? That's on me too. It's not on her, that's on me. That's a good girl. She's a fucking incredible artist, bro. Pay attention to her work. She's amazing.
When you say it's on you, like
Whatever she said, run with most of it.
were you able to work some of that stuff out behind closed doors?
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Because America is like,
I get there kind of thing, usually everywhere.
you told me you shared a blanket in there though.
Yeah, we did. We shared a blanket, because 50 of us, so there's only so many blankets. But yeah, me and this one, yeah, we shared a blanket.
Wait, what happened there?
You mentioned heartbreak as a major thing.
In my life, in general,
So he's talking about Twigs. Do you know about this? It was his girlfriend, I guess his first girlfriend after he divorced. I don't know when he got divorced.
What is Twigs?
It's a girl. It's a female.
Oh, it's a person?
It's a female vocalist or something.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't trying to be like
No, I didn't know it was a
boomer on
person
that.
either.
I
It
didn't know that's a person.
Yeah, so he was
Sounded
talking about
like a
that, and
thing.
I'm like, I didn't know that was even. I didn't know how long he's been divorced. So
Your life figuring out what behavior patterns put you in the position to be in positions like the ones that got written about significantly.
Yeah.
Looking back at that whole chapter, you know, as far as the major controversy and everything like that 2 or 3 years ago, how do you look back in the
you know,
review?
Twigs and all that? Yeah. Bro, she's a good girl, bro.
okay, so he's asking him. There's a funny part where Andrew asks him. It's Andrew, right? I keep calling the interviewer Andrew.
His name is, I searched that earlier, Andrew Callahan.
Andrew, yeah. Okay, so let's say he's asking him, well, okay, what are ways you can basically break the pattern of destructive behavior or whatever?
Which clearly is a good question.
Which is a good question. And it's an Aristotelian question. And I can't really get a good feel for Andrew. I don't watch his show. He's got a big YouTube show. But it's half the time it seems like he's joking. And the other half the time it sounds like he's asking sincerely. So it's just a hard interviewing style for me to decipher. But he's asking Shia, and he sounds pretty serious about it. Like, well, how can you break the destructive pattern? And he goes, well, with Twigs, how do you do it? And Shia ends up saying something like, well, with Twigs, I guess that's his first girlfriend after his divorce, which, Catholics ain't down with. I just need to be honest from the outset or something like that. And I'm like, okay, well, I think there's a little more to it than that if you look at the Catholic rule on divorce. But then he says, with the public drunkenness and public fighting, and this is the only one where I never had too much of a hard time at all controlling myself with the ladies, but with the fighting and being rowdy and either drunk or sober as a younger man getting into trouble like that. He says, his response is funny.
What kind of things set off that anger?
What kind of things set off that anger? I mean, boy, I haven't experienced for a while, but I'll be honest with you, big gay people are scary to me.
What do you mean?
When I'm like standing by myself and 3 gay dudes are next to me touching my leg, I get scared.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. If that's homophobic, then I'm that.
Yeah.
Then I am that.
Just had it one time.
If that's
I love that.
homophobic, then I'm that.
I love that.
Yeah,
If
I mean,
that's
dude, me
homophobic, then
too.
I am
Bro, me too.
that.
He said big gay people are scary. It's like, yeah.
Well, that's why
Rapers,
I got
bro.
arrested.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you were.
And
I
it
get
came
that.
out too that he was like assaulted, right? When he was in Hollywood. So there was a reason for
I
him.
didn't hear that part. You said to look out for that. I didn't hear the part where he was assaulted, like all the way assaulted, or
Well, I think people were putting the math together on that, and they were saying that there was a claim that he was like a male in Hollywood, like I don't know how far it went. It may not have gone very far, but at least propositioned him, and like that's deeply traumatic for
yeah, of course.
for a young man. So I think, it makes sense. It makes sense even without the backstory.
When you like the ladies,
Yeah.
when you like the ladies and you're not disordered in that way, then which most people aren't. The only way to really to uncouple someone's lady loving as a young man, there are a few ways, but Aristotle says it's mainly abuse or some sort of emotional or psychological or physical abuse is pretty much the way that happens. And So yeah, big gay dude. And Shia talks about how he has Napoleon complex. He's kind of little. And he says, you know, big gay people are scary to him, and he is homophobic. So deal with it. You know, we don't tell people not to be arachnophobes, right? I think the proper response to quote unquote homophobia, are you afraid of gays? Well, I'm not, but I'm a bigger dude. If Shia is, and maybe he's been assaulted, you know, grew up in Hollywood around the pit of juice in Hollywood, of course, and he's a little smaller, though he seems scrappy, then that's fine. He admits call it a phobia if you want, but we don't tell people not to be arachnophobics. We don't tell people not to be afraid of heights. You know, we're like, hey, if that's your phobia, man, indulge the phobia. Don't go to the Grand Canyon if you're afraid of heights.
And there's also a difference between being like afraid of something and being grossed out by something.
Sure,
it's like
conceptually,
they'll always say like
yeah.
You're phobic of something to try to make you into the weakling. It's like, no, I'm just deeply repulsed and grossed out, and I get nauseous, and I start feeling like I'm gonna start like vomiting when I think about this thing.
Right?
It's not. I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of it any more than anyone's afraid of like something gross.
Which
I'm
is
just
what I say.
Totally right? Weirded out.
I say I'm a homovomus. I'm a homovomus. It just makes me want to vomit, right? I'm not really afraid. I'm not afraid at all. But Shia, but we're talking Shia now. And Shia says, no, I'm that. I'm homophobic, which is cool. So just congratulate him and be like, okay, stay away from spiders then, arachnophobe. Stay away from heights. Height phobe. Stay away from crowds if you're an agoraphobe. Stay away from homos if you're a homophobe. Why doesn't anyone say that? I you know why. You know, that's not my approach, but I respect
whatever.
it.
If somebody got more information on the subject, then, you know, let me know.
Let me restate that. No, I do agree with the approach of a homophobe to stay away from that. I'm just saying, well, I'm more a homovomus, right?
But whatever somebody wants to say, it didn't feel like that when it happened. Look, this is the worst thing to say, and I'm not going to say it. I've never had no problem with gay people. Never. I remember paying for people's like transition surgery when I was fucking around the internet heavy. I've never been adversarial towards it. You know what I mean? But
you just went from one extreme to the other, bro. Because he said too much. He keeps saying too much, and then he's going to get in trouble, or his agent or handler or whoever, if he has one, will be like, you can't say that you're homophobic. So then he's like, oh, it's fine. I paid for transition surgeries when I used to mess around on the internet. Okay, well, that's too much. That's too far the other way. I liked it right where you said it, bro. Shia, I liked you when you show me the money. You had me at, I'm a homophobe. You had me there.
You don't have to say like, oh, I also have black friends.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that routine.
Yeah.
You could just be who you are.
Right. I full on don't have black friends. You can say that on Rules for Retrograde.
Whatever. If somebody got more information on the subject, then you know. I know I'm fucking deep off into the Bible. I know what the Bible says about homosexuality.
What does it say?
Nah,
That's what it says.
Nah.
yeah,
But wasn't that written a really long time ago?
bro. You can do whatever you want with the text. It's not my business. You know, I'm a traditional Catholic. That's okay.
And what's the difference between a traditional Catholic and, let's say, a more progressive Christian?
I really fuck with the Bible.
You
I
really know
love
stuff.
it.
Yeah.
Who do you think's down there?
Who's down there? Martin Luther.
Martin
And
Luther.
The Protestant.
Martin Luther's there. Yeah,
He had the special
He's gone. Fool's gone.
for denying the divinity of the Pope.
There's a whole lot. We could talk about this the whole rest of the interview. I don't want to do that either. I'm not Mel Gibson. I'm not trying to be out here doing that either. God bless you. I love you too. I'm not that guy either. I'm not angry with my Christianity like that. I just really believe in what I believe in. I'm not trying to proselytize nobody. I'm not trying to hold no traditional Catholic line. I'm not some fucking weirdo like that, tight ass fucking. No, none of that, bro. I'm on my relationship. I'm in a full-blown love affair with Jesus, and I believe what I believe.
One thing you did mention earlier was the certain type of person that
I mean, you just gotta love this kid.
So many
he's not a kid.
clip-worthy things. Like, what does the Bible say? Nah.
What does the Bible say on it? He's like, look, if you got information for me on homosexuality that I'm missing, send it to me. Send me a pamphlet. But I know I'm deep into the Bible. And then Andrew goes, what does the Bible teach about homosexuality? And he goes, nah. So if you search Leviticus, it's God says to Moses is like, homosexuality question? And God goes, nah.
How could you not like this kid?
Yeah, how do you not like this guy? And he's only like a couple years younger than us. But
yeah.
Then he goes, so that's my thing. And I'm not a hater. I'm just saying you're not allowed to do it. And there's less bad stuff that also you're not allowed to do that we're all probably doing. And Shia is probably doing too. But the homosexuality, that's a big one. And God does go, nah.
God's so not.
But he goes, I'm not a hater. I'm not some weirdo. And then he goes, I'm not like Mel Gibson. He goes, I love him too. God bless him too. But I don't think Mel Gibson's a real hater. But he's trying to just, he's trying to walk the walk.
It's so funny. We were just talking about the Mel Gibson thing. Like when Mel Gibson got arrested and he popped off, and all of us back in the day were like, whoa, Mel Gibson has lost his mind. And then all of us were like, now we're all like, that guy was some sort of prophet.
Mel knew.
Mel knew.
Mel
like,
didn't lose his mind. Mel was as sane as I've ever been when he was telling that cop about who starts all the wars in the world. I mean, I remember mocking that. I mean, the smugness, the smudgeness
of us,
the arrogance of. I remember watching Passion of the Christ, and then it came. I think it happened with the Jewish officer who stopped him while he was drunk driving, and he was blaming the Jew cop for his drunk driving, which is hilarious. I mean, it's obviously his fault he's drunk driving, but you got to kind of admire the pluckiness.
It's interesting
like,
that
it's your fault, bro. Abraham.
It's interesting. All these guys, all these kind of based guys, like their best material comes from when they get arrested
or drunk.
Or like Shia LaBeouf was just like on a bender.
Okay.
I know everybody, all the trads are gonna freak out. But it's funny. It's like all these guys are like on benders. Like Mel Gibson is like speeding down the highway or whatever. Shia LaBeouf is like partying in Mardi Gras. And then they sit down for like an interview and they're just spitting straight facts. And then the initial interview request was like, why were you like high and drunk and like punching gays in New Orleans? It's like,
if I'm afraid of homos, if that's what that means, because they do scare me, then I'm that. Direct quote Shia LaBeouf.
While I have you, do you F with G.K. Chesterton?
Do you fuck with Chesterton? I fuck with Chesterton, dog.
That's why I don't feel alone. I'm not they got St. Francis's bones on display for.
This is so cool.
I'm not tripping on that too. I got guidance there. You know what I mean? I'm really a church kid, bro. People don't know that, but I got so much support. That's why I don't feel alone. They got St. Francis's bones on display for the first time ever in the history of life. No way, here in New Orleans? No, fuck no. In Rome.
It says here in New Orleans,
dude. All right, fucking, he's playing Assisi. So my dad's about to get baptized on Sunday. If the court lets me go, I'm going to Assisi.
Oh, so is the court like keeping you here?
Yeah, I gotta stay.
Oh no,
I'm on bond. Yeah, I'm on bond right now.
Wait, so you're on bail?
I don't know what they told me I'm on bond.
Yeah, you're on bail.
Okay, then you said it. And then I gotta take my shotgun in there in the morning. Can't have a gun. Can't be on drugs. Can't be in no fuck around. And can't leave the country.
How much was it?
You can't. He says you can't be in no fuck around. I don't know what that means. So I just don't know what that expression means. But he's talking about after you get out of jail, he wants to go see his dad get baptized, which is excellent. God bless. That's serious. That's really great.
That's a big deal. I was reading his Wikipedia page. His dad had like serious substance abuse issues when in his youth and stuff. So for him to be converting into a faith is a win.
Amazing.
That's a win.
Amazing. God bless, Shia. Good job. It's probably because, sometimes the father follows the son rather than leads the son. If that's the way you get into heaven, then who cares whether you led your son or followed your son? It's your job to lead your son if you know, but you can't give what you don't have. So God bless him. I also like Shia starts talking at this point in the interview. I don't know if I grabbed a clip about, he's like, I don't believe in talent. Some people have skills, but I won the lottery. He's like, I won the lottery. And that's true humility. You listen to athletes talk about how hard they trained. And normies and NPCs go, they're so humble. They had to work so hard. That's just that Puritan shit where they worship routine, blood, sweat, tears, labor, routine, blood, sweat, labor, hard work, wealth, capital. I don't respect that. What I really liked, and I don't really like this athlete much, but Steve Nash once said, look, you never hear athletes talk about how much luck is involved. We have a lot. Steve Nash does believe in talent. I probably believe in it more than Shia. You have a combo of talent and luck, and it's a bigger portion of luck than people want to admit. Nash says, he's like, you got to hit your window in the draft. You can't get injured during certain periods. You just need the ball to roll in the hoop while certain scouts are at that game. Sometimes you shoot the exact same thought, and you got Ian Malcolm chaos theory working against you. The molecules on the rim roll the ball differently that day. The English, just sometimes the shots don't drop. And sometimes it's a question in basketball of, they call it the basketball gods, but the basketball luck, I'll say, you need to make your first couple shots, and then the rim just gets bigger. The hoop gets bigger and bigger. If you miss your first couple shots, the hoop seems to get smaller and smaller, harder to make. So I just like when guys who are very good at what they do and have gone to the top level, like Steve Nash, should have never won MVP, not once, definitely not twice, or Shia LaBeouf, who are professionals, well known at what they do, just say this is mainly luck, bro. It's so much luck. And I really respect that. That's humility to me. That's Catholic humility, is evaluating, appreciating, cognizing your thrownness, the randomness of, yeah, you got to have some skill too, but it's mainly luck. And because there are guys that have more skill than you that never got found out. And that's humility to me. That Puritan hard work, early to bed, early to rise, makes a man healthy, wealthy, wise. That to me, that's just nonsense.
I'm not tripping on that too. I don't think it's there. You know, I'm really a church kid, bro. People don't know that, but I got so much support. That's why I don't feel alone. I'm about to, you know, they got St. Francis's bones on display for the first time ever in the history of life.
You can tell he's just excited about it. You know, that's where his mind goes when he's like, I feel community, which is another theme he keeps returning to. I walk around the streets of New Orleans. I'm willing to take pictures because I feel community from these people. They're not weirdos when they approach me. I feel like I know him immediately. He's a sociable guy. So he goes, I'm not alone. I'm a church kid. That's what people don't understand. They really don't understand that about me. I'm a church kid. And the first thing his mind goes to is, I can commune with the actual bones of St. Francis, which are on display for the first time ever in Rome.
Go up and down Temple Street. Whatever the fuck they were on, you know what I mean? God bless y'all. But it's different. It's very different.
He's talking about LA dying.
It's Los Angeles. And it's undeniable. It's where it was birthed. You go up and down Temple Street, it doesn't matter. There's no plaques. You walk around New Orleans, there's plaques everywhere. Why aren't there plaques on Temple Street? That's a huge Chicano culture that's just getting completely and they got all this ice shit, and it's just getting fucking swallowed, and everything's getting like melted away, and you're watching it happen. And so the LA that I loved was the Chicano culture in LA. It was the only spirit of LA.
That's a good point that you made as far as like even the expressions of like OG, what we call car culture. Like when you see meetups, I know what you mean about the caricaturization.
It feels like watching Japanese people play Mexicans. Like I see some stuff in Japan where they're like adopting Chicano culture, and I feel for them. I kind of in a way am also. I'm a Jew. You go up and down Temple Street. What the fuck they were on, you know what I mean? God bless y'all. But it's different.
So there's a few more clips I pulled, but I would just say you get the gist of it. This is not performative. I don't know how you could think this. This is Shia being absolutely authentic. And I know that more people are bothered by the randomness and the little bit of spasticity. That stuff just doesn't bother me. That just doesn't bother me. So that doesn't mean that to answer Michael Knowles' question, this spasticity is the source of what makes Shia such a great evangelist, better evangelist than all the apologists out there on the internet, which includes myself, and which I agree with. It's the fallenness. And I get that this is the point Knowles made, but people like knowing that maybe this isn't the end of the path. Maybe it's not even sufficient to get you to heaven, just to get baptized and go to confession every week. Maybe you're not making valid confession. Now, I don't just mean Shia. I mean myself, yourself, anyone. If you're repeating sins too often enough in confession, maybe those aren't real confessions. You don't know your mens rea. If you're every week going in there and repeating, I call my sister a fuddy-duddy. Let's pretend that's mortal. And you do it every week. Maybe it's not counting at the 5th time or the 10th time. But he's still on the path, and we're just all crying out for heaven. We're hoping to make it. And the spasticity doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother anyone. That's why he's such a powerful evangelist. And Shia, if you're out there, man, I would tell you, as another native Angelino, Bakersfield Valley rat, who loves those two movies of yours, especially those two, even like Transformers, but I really liked 20-year-old me. Felt like Disturbia. 40-year-old me felt like humbled me, felt like Peanut Butter Falcon, Shia. I'd love to bring you out to the studio here and interview. I think it would be an amazing Catholic interview, and I would be able to talk with you in a way where Andrew did this funny interview. He did a great job, but he had to say, I was baptized. I don't really know anything about it. I don't know who G.K. Chesterton is. And that's not all I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about some of your movies, but you got to do some of these hybrid interviews with guys. Another great interview that I would pay to see would be Knowles. But I would love to be the first real Catholic, the first real Catholic real one. I don't count Bishop Barron. Sorry. I know you guys watch Bishop Barron, but that's different. That's different. No one's going to be themselves fully around a bishop. even though Shia gave great answers on that thing. But Bishop Barron was so titillated to be around a movie star. You know, he just likes the celebrities. I don't get like that. I'd be excited because it would be a lot of fun. But anyway, I'm gonna try to not in the creepy way. I'm gonna try to find Shia and get him to come over here. I'd go to New Orleans to do that interview too, if that's what it takes.
Well, coming up
Yes,
after
no
this, we're going to
filter.
do an exclusive stream with our locals, YouTube, Twitter subscribers. Look for that link on the platform that you're subscribed to within a couple of seconds. And we're going to talk about what Tim learned as a Catholic apologist from Shia LaBeouf. Interestingly enough.
yeah, we'll get a little deeper on that aspect of things. Okay. So if anyone is out in NOLA and knows where Shia is hanging out, or, I have friends with contacts with these people, so that's why I'm usually pretty good about getting the interviews I want. But this is a good interview. I could do a better interview with Shia, not because I'm better at interviewing. Andrew's probably a better interviewer than I am. That's what he does. But we could go actually deep on not just the Catholic stuff, because that's obvious, but we could go deeper on the secular stuff because of the shared Catholic values. Whereas other people that are like, I was baptized Catholic, they don't understand what the sacraments are. You know, being able to touch the bones, being able to drink the blood, being able to consume the flesh of our Lord. This changes everything, and it doesn't mean you have to stop talking how you want to talk. If Shia started talking like Bishop Barron, I would hate it. That would be just the worst. Friends, Bishop Barron's a guy that still thinks Bob Dylan's cool. I love Shia talking how he talks. We could get into the meat of it. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed my little survey of the Andrew Shia interview after his brief dust up with the law, I guess on March the 17th. That's St. Patrick's Day. On March 17th,
boy.
That's when he's going to find out what his
They're
sentencing
keeping him
is.
in New Orleans for St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, that's
That
not a
is.
good idea.
Come on.
I think that's when he's notified. But seriously, God bless Shia LaBeouf's dad. That's excellent. He's coming into the church on the this Easter.
We gotta get Shia with Father O'Brien there in New Orleans.
Yeah, I would love to introduce you, Shia, to. I mean, he probably goes to the Latin Mass. Did he go to the Latin Mass?
Oh no,
Did he go to?
Email Father. Ask him if he's there.
Yeah, that's a good question. Father
A
O'Brien right now.
super chat. Saint Augustine struggled a while with his conversion.
That's
So
what I'm
right there.
saying.
Yeah.
And that's that's because dudes understand men are built to be productive and get the job done, whether it's building a bridge or an intellectual job done, or throwing their kids around, catching their kids and throwing them. Men are built that way. So men are built to be functional. So like, we're not as tied into looking handsome. Every dude wants to be as handsome as he can get, but this is what's so gay about the looks maxing shit.
Yeah, people were saying Shia is performative. I'm like, and these are the same guys that are like talking about how Clav is like based. I'm like, dude.
Yeah, now that's performative.
It's so
Guys that
gay.
are overly concerned with looks, everyone wants to be as handsome as they can. This is fine to do little touch-ups here and there, but you start getting a bone enhancement. I mean, Shia would have more of an excuse to do that than clavicular, right? He was in the real movies, like A-list movies. But men, and he says he probably wishes he was a little bit taller, wishes he was a baller. Men are built to still get the job done. Women are built to be beautiful, and their beauty is fully tied into who they are as helpmeets. Pleasantness and beauty are built into who women are. Nick Fuentes has been on this lately, and so this creates an especially challenging hill to mount for many young guys as they're converting. And St. Augustine talks about it. Women are beautiful, and men are naturally drawn to women, and some men are just really drawn to women, and that's a natural vice. That's not an unnatural vice. It can still be a mortal sin and be a natural vice, but it's nothing like the homo thing, the homo heresy. So that's a natural one. Murdering your baby, that's a really unnatural vice. That's why I'm saying you know, those SAT questions, Abby Johnson is to St. Paul as Shia LaBeouf is to St. Augustine. I say no. I don't think Abby Johnson is like St. Paul. We don't know the end of the road. We don't know how the film ends, but I would love to see Shia LaBeouf end up like St. Augustine and really fully embrace the hard thing for a red-blooded, tough, cool dude to embrace, which is celibacy, or at least chastity. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this show. Hope I can do an actual Shia surprise interview for you. It's going to be called Shia Surprise if I interview him. Maybe I'll come up with something more clever. The inside joke is it's an internet joke if you know what that is. But God bless you guys. I hope to do a follow-up on this with the Genuine article sometime soon. God bless you all.